Let me tell you, we're going to be working in some new material, right, Stan?
Ooh. Here we have the double door routine.
What could make a man skip the funeral of his lifelong best friend, especially when that friend had been half of a bond that defined an entire era of laughter? The story of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy is not just about comedy. It is about friendship, pain, and a final silence that still echoes through Hollywood history. They weren't simply actors. They were the heartbeat of early film comedy, opposites in every way, yet perfectly matched, one thin and shy, the other round and confident. Together they created harmony from chaos, turning mistakes into magic and slapstick into art. Their partnership began quietly in 1921 in a small silent film called The Lucky Dog. Neither could have imagined that this small meeting would change comedy forever. Stan Laurel, born into a theatrical family, learned performance under the same vaudeville company that gave the world Charlie Chaplin. He studied timing and emotion, turning small movements into entire stories. Oliver Hardy came from a different world. He began as a singer, drifting into acting almost by accident, but his confidence and warm humor made him unforgettable. When Hal Roach Studios officially paired them in 1927's Pudding Pants on Philip, it was instant magic. They didn't just perform jokes, they performed rhythm. Their chemistry was so natural it felt like destiny. Together they made more than 100 films, built around physical comedy, heartbreak, and human truth. Audiences from America to Europe adored them, and for decades their theme, the Cuckoo Song, could fill theaters with laughter before a single line was spoken. But behind the fun was a storm few ever saw. Stan Laurel was the perfectionist. He lived and breathed comedy, shaping every line, every fall, every pause with surgical precision. He wasn't credited as a director, but everyone knew he was the mind behind the magic. He worked day and night, haunted by the fear of failure, while Oliver Hardy was the calm in the storm, enjoying his work and trusting his friend's genius. Yet that same balance that made them great on screen also built tension off it. Laurel's control sometimes clashed with Hardy's relaxed style. Still, their bond remained strong, even as fame changed everything around them. Behind the spotlight, both men wrestled with personal pain. Laurel's life was filled with broken marriages and endless restlessness. Hardy faced financial struggles and emotional exhaustion. They carried these burdens quietly, hiding them beneath laughter that made millions smile. When they grew older, the golden age of slapstick began to fade. New voices and faster humor replaced the slower, more deliberate comedy they mastered. And by the time they made their final film, Atoll K, in 1951, it was clear that their era had come to an end. Hardy's health soon began to collapse. The weight that once defined his character became a danger. Years of smoking, stress, and long working hours finally caught up with him. A heart attack in 1954 forced him to change everything. He lost over 150 pounds, and the man who once brought joy to millions began to look like a ghost of himself. By 1956, tragedy struck again. A stroke left him paralyzed and unable to speak. Stan Laurel, his best friend, called and wrote letters constantly, but Hardy was too weak to reply. The silence between them became unbearable, and on August 7, 1957, Oliver Hardy passed away at the age of 65. Hollywood grieved deeply, and fans everywhere expected one image that never came: Stan Laurel standing beside the casket of his dearest friend. But he wasn't there. The empty seat at the funeral became one of the most haunting moments in film history. Many wondered how he could stay away, but the truth was more heartbreaking than rumor. By then, Stan's own health was fragile. Years of exhaustion and illness had left him weak and frail. His doctor warned that attending the funeral could trigger another heart attack. Emotionally and physically, he couldn't endure it. When asked why he didn't go, his only words were, "Babe would understand," using Hardy's lifelong nickname. That short sentence revealed everything about their friendship. Stan knew that his presence would have turned the funeral into a media circus. Reporters would have focused on his tears instead of Hardy's memory. And he refused to let that happen. He wanted the day to belong entirely to his friend. Even in grief, he protected the dignity of the man who had been his partner through laughter and pain. The years that followed were quiet and lonely. Stan Laurel never performed again. He believed that without Hardy, there could be no Laurel and Hardy. He turned down every offer, every appearance, and spent his days writing short comedy sketches and replying to letters from fans who still adored him. Sometimes his script still included Hardy's name, as if part of him refused to accept that his friend was gone. Surrounded by memories of their films, he lived in gentle solitude, honoring the friendship that had shaped his entire life. In 1961, he received an honorary Academy Award for his contribution to film comedy, but true to his nature, he didn't attend the ceremony. His days in the spotlight were over. Stan Laurel passed away in 1965, leaving behind a legacy built on laughter and loyalty. And even now, their films remind us that true friendship never dies. It simply finds new ways to live on through the joy it created. If you enjoyed this story of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, make sure to subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin and press the bell icon, so you never miss more untold stories from the golden age of Hollywood.